Here with the Aeroponic Tower channel, and today I want to take you along on a harvest. So we are, what are we in June? We're a week into June and we're having a late intro into summer here. We are in Western North Carolina in the Appalachian Mountains, and it's just been a little bit cooler, but I have some cabbages and some kohlrabi and a lot of cool weather crops that are gonna need to come out in the next week. I'm taking the children on a little summer adventure, and before I go, I need to make sure those crops are out because it's gonna get really hot while we're gone. And you don't wanna lose your crops to bolting. Bolting is when they decide to go to seed because they are self-preserving and they wanna reproduce. And that'll happen when it starts to get really hot if you have cold weather crops. Now, if you want to continue to grow cold weather crops, which I do, then I can move a tower in my house. And actually this year I'm going to just move one really close to the house where we have moderate sun and it stays a lot cooler. In a place like Florida with high humidity and really high heat, that would not work. You would want to move a tower indoors if you want to keep growing cool weather crops. But with a milder climate like we have, I can get away with that a little bit if I'm doing fast growing cool weather crop things like baby arugula or some of these bok choys and things like that. But let me show you what I've harvested already. I harvested these to make reels out of last night, and I'm gonna take you guys along as I do another big harvest. We have to get most of this off the towers and turned over with new plants in those spots over the next week. A lot of this food I will take on our vacation with us so that I can continue to eat nice, healthy, homegrown, better than organic food is what I call it while I'm on vacation. And the towers do need a cleansing, usually after each season. When I'm coming out of a season where the food is gigantic, the towers can get a little bit dirty underneath that food. So I want to be harvesting everything, give everything a little scrub. I never let my towers get to where I have to take everything out because it's all matured and then clean the tank. I am constantly growing food in intervals. So I've got baby plants and mature plants and everything in between on every single one of my towers. All right, so I'm in my garage and I keep my towers close to my garage because that is where my supplies are. And I just like gardening to be simple. That's what this is about. It's about growing a massive amount of food in the simplest, most affordable method possible. The towers are an initial investment, but an investment into health and an investment into lifetime growing because I won't have to replace those. But I do like to keep everything super simple. So just keeping the towers right outside my garage door because I can open the garage and work in here. That's why I keep them where they're at. I recommend anything out of sight is out of mind. And you want to put eyes on your towers every single day. So they're also where my car parks. So I park my car next to my towers so I can look at things, harvest things, be reminded of the abundance of food I have or what I want to grow. So I just recommend if you want to get into tower gardening, think of where you can put them where you can see them all the time so they can become a daily part of your life. And then before you know it, you'll be growing an abundance of unique foods. Like we don't find this stuff at the grocery store. And this is so healthy, and I can pull it off the tower and be eating it within, minutes of harvesting this food, which means I'm getting the most nutrition possible. So yeah, I just wanted to share that little disclaimer. Keep your towers close so you see them often. All right, so here is my harvest. I harvested a purple lady. I think this is a pak choi. I always get the box and the poks mixed up, but either way, absolutely gorgeous. You can plant one seed and get one large purple lady, or you can do what I did. I guess I had extra seeds in there and I've got all these little baby pak choys with it. Either way, it's amazing. One of my favorite foods to grow. I've never seen anything like this at a grocery store or even at the farmer's market. And now I eat these all the time. And we know purple has anthocyanins, they have something really nutritious in them that are good for our bodies. So you'll see me grow a lot of purple food. Another one of my favorite things to grow on the towers are beets. So I am actually about to plant over 36 beets in my baby green section of my tower. And this particular harvest, what I did was grew some small beets. So I have there's 5 different beets in here. and they stayed small because there were so many of them. I did this intentionally because I can take this whole bundle with the greens and juice them. If you want a standard size beet, just do 1 or 2 seeds. 2 seeds tend to do well with things like turnips and beets because they do have room, and they'll kind of, and even kohlrabi, they'll kind of grow off to the side of each other. Or you can just do 1 and it'll get a little bit larger, or you can do these bundles too. It works totally fine, super cute. And I'm gonna toss this in to, you can make pickled beets with these, little beets, so many options. I harvested some kohlrabi leaves that were shading out some other things. Again, purple food is amazing for you. Here is an example of doing 1 seed with your root vegetables so that you get a nice huge harvest. This is a turnip. You can eat the greens of a turnip. This is a white top turnip. I do not like purple top turnips. Me personally, they're super spicy, where this is nice and mild. So I have some plans for this for my trip. This is an Imako cabbage, and I harvested these to make a reel, and the dog kind of messed with them and chewed on some leaves, so it looks a little ratty on the outside. But you can see on the inside, it's this gorgeous head. I grow these in the baby green section of my tower a lot of times, so you can grow pretty substantial sized vegetables even in the baby green section of your tower. We're gonna go harvest quite a few actually. So I like this one because it forms this tight head. This is a Napa cabbage variety. It's E-M-I-K-O. I found these seeds at Park Seeds, and it's just gorgeous and has great flavor and is an abundance of food to make for dinner. We're gonna make stir fry. These are dripping water on me. This one is a new one I started this year, and this is a Golden Beauty. So I have been really happy with this. This one also got a little bit tattered on the outsides. I've been really happy with this though because they grow so big. You can see how big this is. And I've actually had some almost twice the size of this. And it's golden on the inside. So it may look like it's not getting nutrients and it has a deficiency, but actually it's how the plant is. It's golden on the inside, and it's called a Golden Beauty. Great for anything you like to use. It's a Chinese cabbage. Anything you like to do with Chinese cabbages. I actually like to juice these because they have such a huge abundance of stem with great water content in them. So I'm going to be juicing this one. I also have zucchinis that I harvested. This is, I believe, a Cocazelle zucchini. I'm terrible with names. Very dense. I really like this one to slice, and I dip it in my sourdough start and fry these. It's kind of my treat with a plant-based diet. I know fried foods aren't super great, but if you're eating an entire cabbage salad, you know, or this purple lady is what I'm gonna have for dinner, being able to have 4 or 5 slices of a sourdough battered tempura zucchini on the side is really nice. So Cocazelle zucchini. This is more of your standard zucchini. This one got all scratched up when I was making my zucchini gardening video. I accidentally cut this with my hori knife, but it's totally fine. It sealed up. This is Market More. This is more your grocery store type variety. With these, I like to harvest them about this size so I can make zoodles, which are when you take a spiralizer and turn them into noodles. So, so delicious. When I do that, I will share with you guys my zoodler because I've had many over the years, and I found one that turns this into angel hair size zoodles that are amazing. Every time people come over and we have them, they hop on and buy this particular product because it's so nice the way it makes zoodles for these. It kind of takes out the hollowness. If your zoodles are too big with the zucchini, they can kind of have a hollow flavor, and it takes that out when you do them with an angel hair size zoodle maker. So let's head over to the gardens and do some more harvesting. I'm gonna lay this food out on the ground so we can use our basket. And let's go. It's the hottest part of the day, and I hate filming, but I go to the gym at night, and yeah, this is when we can film. So first I want to show you So first I want to show you this plant here. It is stunning. All right, here are all the towers looking so gorgeous. But check this out, guys. Purple cauliflower. I'll post in the comments or the description the name of this one. I forget the name, but absolutely stunning. I have white cauliflowers, just your standard grocery store type, that are starting to take shape. Several of those. And these are all our winter crops that we need to give a little bit more time. I'm guessing another few days for the purples and maybe a full week for the others, but they are going to need to come out because we're starting to get hot. And we're gonna be harvesting all of these green beans too for dinner tonight. So anytime I see leaves that just don't look pretty, we're gonna pop those off. I'm trying to make this where you guys can see. It's super sunny. There we go. All right, so we're gonna harvest the purple velour bean. Been really happy with this one. I get a lot of questions when people can't find the velour organic. So, or non-GMO. So non-GMO seeds don't actually reproduce. They, like true non-GMOs, you can have cross-pollination, but this, if you're growing something like a velour bean, you're buying a velour bean, that has to be grown in a way that's controlled so that there isn't cross-pollination and this bean becomes a different kind of bean. So these are protected anyway from cross-pollination, so I do not worry. You know, when it says non-GMO, that really means nothing on the seed package. And then organic, I think organic is the best, but again, some of the non-organic seeds, I trust the companies these come from, and to get some of those organic labels cost a lot. And so a lot of times you can find amazing seeds like Baker Creek seeds and heirloom seeds, and they're not going to say organic, but they're still incredible seeds. So let's head over here and see what else we can find. Right down here we have cucumbers. So I talk a lot about how I do dwarf variety cucumbers because they're easier to manage on the towers and because they produce fruit so fast. I like smaller cucumbers. They're less seedy and you just get food faster. So I do have a standard cucumber growing somewhere on one of my towers, but I like these dwarf varieties that are a little bit smaller. We're gonna harvest this one for dinner. And I have lots of little cucumbers everywhere on the towers. We're gonna do a pea harvest because we've got lots of snap peas here. When you harvest your food, it tells the plant to produce more food. So make sure you harvest a lot, especially with peas and green beans, because when those seeds start to develop into a full seed, then it wants to focus all its energy on doing that, and you'll start to get less food as the plant puts all its energy into getting mature seeds. So get them while they're tender and they'll keep producing. So we've got some green beans here. Over on this side we have more velour green beans, and you can see I plant my food all sorts of different places. Some are towards the bottom of the tower, my green beans. Some are in the middle, some get full sun. What that will do is keep some plants smaller and some will hit their peak faster. So if you've got some in the shadier spots and then some, you know, up and towards the sun, this one's not going to reach a peak and be ready to be pulled out at the same time some of the upper ones will. Just my little strategy there. I've got some green beans here. These plants are small and it's okay to harvest your green beans a little small. I like them super tender. If you need food, you know, get the food. They'll grow more. The more we harvest, the more they'll grow. So I'm going to be harvesting a bunch of kale, just not on this video, to make kale chips. Here, we're on the other side of the tower. We have more green beans. Looks like just one on that guy. This white stuff is soap. I did some cleaning on here, so nothing to worry about there. We have fennel bulb for juicing. Celery, I have so much celery that needs to be harvested and juiced. Celery grows so amazing. This tower actually got turned off in the heat of the day. So these are that same Golden Beauty. They're just a little spread out because they are overheated right now. They're just getting too much heat. I need to actually turn this. Let's do that together. Here's how you turn one of your towers if something is getting too much sun. Yep, that was it. And so now our fennel bulb can be the highlight here. But this tower got turned off in the heat of the day, and it looked like everything was dead. It was turned off for hours before I knew. But you can see everything bounced back. So if that ever happens, don't panic. There's a little damage to a couple of leaves, but we can just donate those to the chickens. And there's a little damage on the tomato leaves, a couple of them, but again, we can just trim those off. No big deal. The fennel came back. The celery, you should have seen it. It was all completely fallen over, like there was no life left. And here it is, looking absolutely gorgeous. So I don't see anything in here I want to harvest today, but we've got leeks, one of my favorite foods. And a trick with this kind of stuff is pull them up a little bit. Any bulbing food, you just want to slowly work them so when they start to produce the thicker part of their bulb, they are outside of that grow port. Here's a good example right here. We have a turnip. We have a turnip hiding in here, and we can just make sure to kind of ease this out. You want to do this with your beets and things too. Make sure it has enough room, and that's it. This has got a baby greens extension kit on it. It's a Flex, which is our larger tank growing systems. But I put a baby green section on it, and up here you can see that Emiko cabbage. It's kind of opening up, so it's a lot wider than the one I showed you because it's ready to be harvested. So we're going to take this guy out. It's hard to do with one hand. Look at that root system. Okay, we got it out. All right, so here's that cabbage I just harvested. It's opening up because it's gonna want to start going to flower soon. But I grew that in the baby green section of this tower. And I have another one here. I'm not gonna harvest that one yet. I have some baby greens right here that were hiding under it. There's a fennel bulb popping up. This is some kind of broccoli or something I would have been growing for juicing purposes, growing in the baby green section. I've got my turnips. There's some more broccoli and greens that I was growing. So you can just see the abundance of food. There's smaller lettuce. There's another Emiko cabbage. There's lettuce behind here, cilantro. Don't underestimate the power of your baby greens extension kit. I grow a tremendous amount of food on this part of my towers. I also use them as a nursery. So I will do things like celery over here, and I'll let it stay in there until it starts to get too big for that spot. And either I'll choose to eat it young and harvest the whole thing if I don't have a place to put it, or I'll move it to a different grow port where it can get even bigger. So you can use this section as a nursery. You can grow all your beets in here, all your turnips, all your baby greens, so many things. The baby greens extension kit, I highly, highly recommend it. I'm just gonna look for some more cucumbers and some more peas to harvest. This is that Little Tom or Tom Thumb pea. It's a dwarf variety pea. I wasn't super happy with it. It's supposed to produce a ton, and I've grown it in the past and it's produced a ton, and it just hasn't been this season. But I found that it's just growing really, really slow, and now it's actually starting to take off. So a trick to encourage them to grow is harvest anything that develops. Like this one stayed so small and hasn't done much of anything. So any kind of fruit on there I'm gonna harvest, and that has been helping them to kind of go, okay, I'm ready to grow. And they will stay cool on this tower. If you touch these plants, it's really hot out today. If you touch these plants, they're actually cold to the touch because the water is going up and dripping down all night long when the temperatures are cooler. And we used to actually have a similar device on our pool in Florida to keep the pool cooler. So by exposing that water to the cool air at night, it's actually cooling off the water, which then keeps the plant significantly cooler throughout the day. So if you come in here and you're under an umbrella of these other plants, it's actually quite nice. So just keep that in mind if you want to keep things going like peas, tuck them in somewhere. We have a little powdery mildew, so I'm going to treat these with my powdery mildew recipe. I did mention that on a recent video, and I will actually have a whole separate video for that. But this plant needs a good dose. We had some rain, and we are in, technically a rainforest area. So anytime we get rain, I tend to find problems on my cucumbers and my squash. So we will take care of that today. And some of this white is soap, because I did do a soap treatment on these as well. All right, I think that's it for this tower that I want to harvest today. This tower is mostly tomatoes. This tower has a lot of my tomatoes on it. So I've got companion plants of kale, some cabbages. That's a knock cabbage towards the bottom. This is a purple kohlrabi that's just not gonna have time to turn into a kohlrabi. I don't waste food like this. If it's too young and it's not gonna have time to mature, I just juice them. You can chop them up, add them to the freezer for smoothies. There's a small cabbage in here, same thing. But to tie my tomatoes up, if you don't have a cage, or for some of these areas where I don't have a cage on these, I just use some twine, or this is some hay string, and tie them right to the tower. And they do fine. And as they grow and change, I'll just continue to add string. We've got some peppers. These are some baby green beans towards the top. Not seeing a whole lot of food to harvest on this tower. We've got leeks and celery towards the bottom. Right here we've got so many peppers. This is a shishito pepper. I'm growing quite a few plants of shishitos because they're so good and they make a meal. I like peppers that make a meal. I've got tons of parsley down here. I actually really want to harvest the parsley, but I didn't start any new seeds. Somehow that just fell through the cracks, so I've been hesitant to harvest the whole plant. I'll probably harvest most of it to make tabbouleh for my trip. So, and I do have new seedlings that have started. You can go buy plants starts online. I just don't recommend it. If you can learn to start your own, that's where your real savings comes in. Because when you rely on growers, starts are very expensive these days. So we've got peppers. There's some peas tucked in here. We're gonna, I took part of the pea plant. See if we can encourage that one to grow. I have some leaves here that are gigantic. This is a collard. This is my hand. This is probably 7 of my hands in one leaf. We're gonna go ahead and take that. Sorry, the sun. We're gonna go ahead and take this leaf and we'll add that to our juice or soup or whatever. But I want to let some light in for these peppers. This is a kohlrabi. This will need to be harvested before our trip. These peas don't look so lovely. We might we'll just give these a couple days, see if they bounce back with a little more sun. I say shade them, but don't shade them too much like I was doing. And we've got peppers through here, so allowing some more sun is going to make those peppers and things really happy. All right, let's see what else. I already harvested quite a bit of zucchini. This is a Tabasco pepper. These are kohlrabi that are not going to mature in time. So before I go out of town, I will come harvest anything like this, and that's what will become my juice for the trip. So if you can juicing I think is just so amazing for you. There's a green bean I want to get. I heard a great talk today, and it was like, these are all kohlrabi that are going to be juiced. And it said vegetables repair, fruits cleanse. So I thought that was just such a simple way to look at food as medicine. If you need to cleanse, eat your fruits. If you want to repair things, eat your veggies. I like to drink my veggies. This is a pepper, purple pepper, that's doing gorgeous. Lots of bell peppers that are starting to come closer to harvest time. Not there yet, but there's one down here. We're getting closer. Here's the rest of that parsley. We've got eggplant. The eggplant is booming. Lots of flowers on the eggplant. I will need to tie this to the cage because as it starts to produce fruit, it'll just bend off and break. So just make sure you're mindful of like your peppers and things. Just a simple string, no big deal. Everything here is doing gorgeous. This is eggplants, peppers, and squash. I already harvested squash off of this one. So I don't believe there's anything to harvest. Everything's still kind of in the just getting started phase. But I do have some nice heads. I do have some nice heads of romaine. So I may make a salad tonight with those because I would like, yeah, like this one's gonna go to seed here. Let's harvest that. All right, I'm gonna harvest this romaine. And I will tell you, there is sort of a curse of harvest where you see these plants and you want them to get bigger and you don't want to eat it because you don't see a romaine anywhere else. And it's like this idea that I don't want to harvest it because then it's not there to have it. And I fall guilty of that all too often. And sometimes we can wait a little bit too long to harvest, and then we start to jeopardize the integrity of the plant, like this one. This one's going to seed. It'll still be excellent, but I've got some brown leaves because I let it go too long that we'll have to take off. And it's starting to want to bolt. It didn't get super big because it was shaded, but this is still great dinner. So harvest it when it looks the best. Don't wait for it to then peak and start to go downhill, because that's what happens. It looks amazing and you don't want to harvest it, and then all of a sudden it starts to go downhill. So all these scraps I'll just throw on the ground and pick them up when it's time to feed the chickens. So by following my advice of harvest it while it's beautiful and don't wait until it is past its peak, I'm gonna go ahead and harvest this lettuce. I'm tempted to leave it on here, but I can already see it's starting to change shape. And now between the two heads of romaine, we will have a nice salad with that cucumber for dinner. All right, and now I have 2 spots I can put plants. I have new seedlings that are actually in need of a home, so I've got a place I can put those now. So we're gonna make a pile for the chickens. Let's see what else we can find.